Welcome to the Pursuit of Excellence, the show where we go beyond the surface to explore what truly drives greatness. I'm your host, Tinja, and each week we sit down with individuals who are pushing boundaries in their fields, breaking barriers, and shaping the future, one decision, one action, one mindset at a time. Together, we'll unpack their definition of excellence, the milestones that signal success, the lessons learned through challenge and triumph, and the wisdom they'd pass on to others walking their own path. Whether you're striving for greatness in your personal life, your career, or your craft, this is a space for real conversations that ignite purpose and fuel your pursuit. Let's get into it. Today's guest is Dean Miles, the founder of Bridgepoint Coaching and Strategy Group and a trusted executive advisor to senior leaders across industries. With a unique background that began working undercover, Dean developed a deep ability to read people and navigate complex dynamics, skills he now uses to help leaders unlock their potential and create meaningful results. Since launching Bridgepoint in 2007, he became known for blending strategic insight with personal connection. He's also a devoted husband of over 30 years, a father to four, and his favorite title, Pappy, to his granddaughter, Miley. Dean brings a grounded, purpose-driven approach to leadership and life, and I'm so excited for this conversation. Welcome, Dean. Thank you for being here.
I am so excited for the first time we met in Houston, and now we're connecting in Orlando. Amazing, amazing.
It's wonderful. So that first meeting with Arise Houston was such a powerful speaking engagement, powerful group, powerful setup. And I knew immediately that I resonated with your background,
Mhm.
with the approach that you took with leaders. And so with the ethos of the pursuit of excellence, I thought it would be phenomenal to have you on the show, dive into your experience, your insights, your the ability to pass the baton, right? To pass the torch. And so as I say
Hey,
that,
nice work.
I mean, what an incredible background for today's virtual. So for those of you that aren't familiar with what's behind Dean, you want to give us a little insight on that?
Yeah, so I'm actually sitting in one of my clients' offices. So it's Greg Easton. A lot of us know his last name from the our first baseball bats had his name on it. And so that's that Easton. He's third generation, has defined all the odds because most third generations don't uh, forget, thrive, and flourishing, right? They barely just kind of hang on. But this is his collections of Olympic torches. His family was very instrumental in getting archery back in the Olympics,
Oh, wow.
right? I mean, they got archery goes back to the Greece Olympic Games, and then long period they were out. Well, the Eastons were instrumental in getting it back. So this is Atlanta going back to 96 and then or 86, and then it kind of goes forward all the way up to China.
That's incredible.
So very, very cool.
Yeah. I mean, you have such a broad range of clients and audience for your personal network. The Olympics hold such a important place in my heart. So my brother did 3 Olympic campaigns. I grew up
Wow.
in elite sports, and so Olympics were always something that we strived for. I played Olympic development soccer, so the idea of striving for excellence in the athletic space and then translating that skill set, so that level of discipline into
Yes.
the business environment. I would love for you to, as a baseline, what is your definition of excellence? And I know before I hand it over, I know when we spoke, in preparation, talking about
Yes.
the replication of excellence, the replication of success. So I'd love for you to dive into your perspective on excellence and how that translates to what you're doing now.
Yeah. Well, really is. It could be a 9-hour segment. I'll start with I don't know. Right. I don't know. I don't know anyone that does, but I do know what I've been learning for the last 20 years that I've been doing Bridgepoint. And then just the great people that I get to meet and have conversation with. One, it has to start with the belief that it's even possible.
Mm.
And my wife and I, it'd be 35 years in September. We have a fun argument of what should come first. Do emotions drive behavior or does behavior drive emotions?
Mm.
And man, we go round and round and round. But for me, that is at the essence of this pursuit.
Mm.
All right, this relentless pursuit of excellence. And because I've been able to coach Olympic athletes, so I've been able to coach the US boxing team, the fencing team, the archery team,
Wow.
these are not normal people. If this was you, you're not normal. Your brother's not normal. To be able to do this day after day after day, and this is where I'll start to annoy you and your audience,
I love it.
after day after day after day, stacking, stacking, stacking momentum, the consistency versus the intensity.
Mm,
It's possible, but if you can do this, you will achieve excellence.
yeah,
I have no doubt. I've seen it time and time again.
I love that. You know, the cyclical nature of being able to stack intensity and consistency is without getting into burnout is so
Yes.
there's that fine line. And so when you're coaching your executives and the athletes, what is it that you're focused on in order to make sure that they're dancing that fine line?
Yes. A couple thoughts come to my mind. One is just to set the expectation is nothing more than doing your best.
Mm,
So do your best, just the ones you love, and then go to bed. That's the formula, right? So do your best. So let's just go physical exercise. There could be a day. Well, let me go a different direction.
yeah.
I have a very good friend who has a goal to communicate with his wife because he travels a lot and he wants to do his best with that. So sometimes just sending a quick text, love you, that's a 10, given what he had that day. But other days doing his best, that's not even close to being to do his best. So if I think about your finances, if I think about your career and the pursuit of that, do your best today, kiss your loved ones, and go to bed. That really helps when you can break it down to that level.
It's like the Mamba mindset, right? Just be
Tell
1% better.
me,
Yeah. So Kobe Bryant.
yes,
Yeah. So
that's right.
it's just every single day you're winning your own battles, right? You're going in and you're delivering excellence because you're the only one that you're up against, right? It's just literally the consistency associated with defeating your, what my dad calls wrestling your own alligators, right?
Yes,
Fighting your own demons associated with where you are in plateau or not, burnout or not, what season you're in build or you're in peak performance on execution. So like that, the cyclical nature, right? So when we were talking, just to bring this back to the cycles, because when we first spoke in preparation, we were talking, you were blowing my mind around the cyclical nature of the S curve of evolution, right? The
right.
80 to 100 year cycles and where we are geopolitically and economically and as a society, right? So it's like, how do we set ourselves up for success now? So the people that are listening are top performers, they're executives, they're people that have hit a plateau that, you know, are looking to break through that plateau to reach the next level of success. And so I'd love to dive into that mindset around how do we set ourselves up for success in this phase of that cycle? If you don't mind explaining that cycle real quick. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, very much so. And if I add one
Sure,
more
please.
idea to this, the stacking and the consistency of each day, I've heard someone else say it this way of measuring not what you're accumulating, but what you're activating.
Mm,
I
mm,
like words that kind of
I love it.
go together like that. So it's not about what you're accumulating, it's about what you're activating. And I think when we're able to see what becomes activated, that helps to overcome that inner voice that says, I'm done, I'm out, right? I can't see the future. So this S curve of just realizing it takes longer when we get started than we would like, but then it ramps. And man, do we walk around with a swagger, right? When that happens, when it like, it's coming together, but then it stalls. I know there's no doubt every single person that's listening to this podcast has experienced that. But we tend to look in the mirror thinking, what did I do? What did I miss? And not realizing that is the normal path of excellence. Now, what you want to do is get really good at jumping to the next S curve. And so Marshall Goldsmith, a mentor of mine, a very good friend of mine, wrote a book 20 years ago, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. Fun to say, hard to let go of what you thought was one of your sacred cows, something you thought this was my secret. Oftentimes, that's what you have to let go in order to jump to that next curve. And then again, it's going to take longer than you anticipated, but the ramp comes and then you're going to stall. So how do we anticipate it? And I think conversations like this, having a network, they can see it and can motivate you. Because some of the best athletic coaches, when you're running that death spiral, that track, and they're just cruel people because they want you to throw up, right? That's how they know you're pushing it. But somehow they know, when do you need a hug and when do you need your butt chewed out?
Yep.
Somehow they know the difference. And that's that S curve, to have people to know when to push you and when to give you a hug.
One, I love what the mindset around what got you here isn't going to get you where you want to be, right? You're going to have to change the
Right.
game. And so that really brings us back to the concept of the complicated versus complexity,
Yes.
and how,
Yes.
yeah, go ahead. I know.
Yeah. Yeah. This was a huge insight because all of us are trying to make our lives as simple as possible. And I just don't know how possible that is anymore, especially if we go into businesses or investing. It's not simple anymore. I think there is a necessary complexity. If you wanted the advantage, maybe that's the word I'm looking for. If you want the advantage, you have to get masterful of maneuvering within complexity. But the uninvited guest of complexity is complicated.
Mm,
And so I had a very good friend explain this to me. He's like, Dean, if I were to show you the water system of New York City, of Manhattan, and I remove the color coding and the legend, it is complex and extremely complicated. But if I were to color code this and put a legend on it, it is still highly complex, but far less complicated. And I think that's part of your secret sauce of this podcast, is that how do we remove complicated
yeah,
while still maintaining the necessary complexity?
I love that. That is, yes, that is the objective. I keep looking up because this is like my brain's like working. So it's
Yeah.
you know I take it back to what I do for a living now, right? So where I came from with consulting, where we're doing robust gap analysis in order to
Mm,
distill what is the challenge that we are needing to solve right now in order to drive value for either the internal return on investment, operations efficiency gains, just basic bottom line. How do we lean it out in order to increase margins across the board? But it's the human side of it, right? So
no doubt.
decreasing the complicated in order to enable somebody to perform with complexity, right? So it's like
Yeah.
the go to market strategy when we are distilling out what a system sale looks like, right? It's how
Mm.
do we create this return on investment, this quantifiable return on investment for our customer when we are dealing with complexity. So how do we simplify it for them in order to just make it a real simple economic decision rather than just a straight emotional one, right? And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, to be able to have the discernment to know what needs to be clarified, what needs to be confirmed,
Yeah,
who or what needs to be connected, um, what should be communicated.
yeah,
What are going to be the consequences? I mean, these are 101 type, I love to
I love
introduce
it.
things,
Yes,
five C's.
please.
What are the five C's? I have been around some of the highest performing teams, and you can trip them up with questions like this.
Mm,
But what needs to be clarified?
love it.
And so as you go up and to the right, right, they go up and to the right. Yes, what needs to be clarified? Because they think it's crystal clear. So when I get them around the table, what do you think we are deciding today? So no one say anything. Everyone just write this down. What is the key decision? Who's making this decision? Who made the recommendation? Where do we get the inputs from? Who's actually going to go do this? And as if your paycheck is connected to your ability to answer this, good luck, everybody.
Yeah,
And I'm telling you, when I start to get these pieces of paper, we're not even close to being on the same page.
yeah.
And so, in this rush to make decisions, we are inviting in complicated. We're inviting in complicated. We're inviting in complicated. And then we get back around the table. Well, I thought you.
Pointing.
Wait, you did what?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, and
so yeah,
this is the best of the best doing
yeah.
this.
So the way I was raised was with 5-paragraph order, very military driven
Mm,
execution, right? So what's the order of operations? Who's responsible for what? Like, what's the contingency plan? Command and control. So which is wild because I'm not military, but it replicates
right.
into the executive world seamlessly, right? So we're setting order of operations. For the audience who isn't familiar with the 5 C's, you want to dive into that real quick?
Yeah, well, it's those words. So what needs to be clarified, what needs to be confirmed, who or what needs to be connected, what should be communicated, and what will be the consequences.
Mm,
Anytime I find teams in a liminal space, we're in between,
yeah.
right? We've completed this, we're about to start this, or we're going to from phase three to phase four, is to just go through that quick. Does anybody have anything in any of these
Yeah.
categories? Because embedded in there, when we do these kind of rearview mirror assessments of these root analysis, like what happened, like what killed the momentum, where did we lose discretionary effort?
Mm,
It tends to be one of those 5 C's. Now, not all the time, but it's a great diagnostic to see how quickly can we find what was the momentum killer,
yeah.
and something tends to not be clarified.
Yeah.
Right. I thought I knew what I said. I thought you heard what I said. And right, like I said, the greatest weakness of communication is the illusion that it's taken place.
Yep. God bless. Assumption will destroy everything. Oh, yes. Like I could
Right.
just
And it's
nerd out
so
so much
disappointing.
right now.
Yeah, it's so disappointing to have put in so much effort,
Yeah.
so many early mornings, so many late nights, so much time spending time ruminating on the negative voices we hear, only to miss the moment because something wasn't clarified.
Yeah, I think so. I'm literally like reliving my past life consulting because I've moved into finance. So it's just same, just different. So but what you're saying correlates to everything that I'm doing now. But when I was consulting, we would focus on meeting management, right? So communications. My mom's a PhD in communication and a neuro-linguistic expert. So my brain just goes back
Yeah.
to how I was raised. But anytime we would have a level of like needing to have an expected outcome in any capacity, right? We would literally have so rapport, purpose, value, expected outcome. Anytime you are
Good.
literally sitting down to get clarity and alignment, it's rapport, bonding and rapport. What is the purpose of
Mm.
this meeting? What is rapport, purpose, value, the value to you, the value to me, and the expected outcome? What do we want to walk away with? So that way we know at the back end of this conversation that we have agreement of where we're going, right? And who's responsible for
Yes.
what. So I know you
You
work.
know,
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
what you're reminding me of, why can't I think of his name? Help me here. The most winning coach in NCAA basketball has written a very well-known book, and I just can't think of his name. But we underestimate how much value are in those basics.
Mm.
We jump to the advance, we jump to the master level with, but now on a shaky foundation. I can't think of his name, but he
I'm
would
gonna
take
I'm gonna
elite.
have literally Morgan Jones, who is the owner of Vision Box, who's a former NBA pro, on. So I'll make sure to get that answer. So I'll circle
Oh,
back.
listen, I know everyone in the comment section, everyone's screaming
Yeah.
at us right now. I can feel the energy coming through this window. But he took, I mean, these were the elite high school basketball stars that then came into his basketball system. And the very first practices he started with, here's how we put our socks on.
Hmm.
And can you imagine the eyes rolling? Like, do you know who I am? Like, I am the local hero in my city. And you want to tell me how to put my socks on? Phase two is here's how we lace up our shoes. Because he knew if we avoid blisters and sprained ankles, we have a chance for excellence. We have a chance to go all the way to the championship. I don't care how good you are. If you roll an ankle, it's over. And in our rush of excellence, we forget the basics.
I love it. So I have an obsession with Einstein. I literally have on my desk, I have the quotable book of Einstein. And so there's a quote that I've used my whole life, and my dad has expanded on it, which is you have to master the fundamentals before you can get creative. But
Yeah.
if you
Yes, that's
don't,
it.
yeah, if you don't master the fundamentals, creativity turns into anarchy. So in order, like just like you were saying, it's if we don't have baseline, we can't excel. We can't get creative. We can't master, like achieve a level of
Right.
mastery or break through a plateau if we don't remember the basics.
So let me relieve some stress from the audience. John Wooden.
Okay.
John Wooden
I
is
love
the
it.
coach's name. I feel
Yeah.
so much better.
I love it.
But think about the basics. Like I don't know that I have a nice quippy way of what would be the basics of excellence.
Mm,
But I know sleep has got to be in there, and
sleep.
I bet we all stink at that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, it's like
Physical exercise. I mean, we know what you're doing. I mean, I see your social media, and I think I'm doing some good stuff, and I see you sweating your beep off.
Oh, yeah, I my need to gain clarity comes from my ability to actually sweat. So like
Yeah, wow.
in order to work through complexity, I need to simplify. And so the best way to find the flow state for me is to physically get into something that I know mechanically really well and get my heart rate elevated. So I know like that this is my dad in my head just being like, did you work out? Did you
Yeah,
walk through it? Did
yeah,
you so like did you master your floor plan? Did you compartmentalize your
yeah.
message?
But think about your ability to even use words like that. I mean, the work you've put in to be able to understand the margins and the boundaries of how do I get in flow state
Mm,
and what kills that for you. So the fact that you know that, it just gives you a chance for excellence. Like we underestimate how hard excellence is.
mm,
Like we're not even talking. I mean, I see excellence. I mean, with a Kobe Bryant, so many young men and young women would say, "I want to be just like him." I have bad news for you. I don't care how much talent you think you have, you'll never, ever be as good as him. I mean, that's exceptional, right? That's 0.0000001%. That's, I mean, if that's excellence, we got to be honest, we don't stand a chance. You want to see people pursuing excellence, go to Nashville. Every Uber driver, barista, hotel clerk are some of the most amazing musicians you've ever met,
yeah.
pursuing excellence and may not be recognized for it. Mhm.
Yeah.
Right? Those are tough ones. That's where I think how important it is. Do your best, kiss your loved ones, go to bed. Otherwise, yeah, burnout,
Yeah.
wasted talent.
Well,
What was that? Where does that take you?
yeah, well, so many directions. I think for the sake of time, I want to hit on one that I know is recent that you published on motivation,
Mm,
because it's you can't stay in peak performance and stay motivated. And when you're talking about like do your best and kiss your loved ones and go to bed, but if you're getting up every single day and doing your best, how do you stay motivated? And how do leaders help create
yeah.
environments for people to motivate themselves?
So I have my own internal dialogue about when I need motivation the most, it tends to fail me. Like I tend to have it when I don't need it.
Yeah.
And when I really need it, like, I mean, it's not going my way, right? I'm at the bottom or the top of an S curve and I need the motivation. It doesn't show up for me. So what I tend to lean in on, well, let me add one more element. When I don't have the motivation, the thing that it snatches and takes out of my space with it is my
Mm,
confidence, which is a very cruel game. So now I've lost, I don't have my motivation, and now my confidence skips out the door with it. What do I do now? What I've found that stays in the room longer, one is conviction. So after when I don't even have to remind myself. I know what my convictions are. They tend to be the things that piss me off, right? Is the other side of what I have a conviction for. So that brings some things back. So one's conviction, and then second is to be inspired.
Mm.
It takes far less energy for me to put myself in a position to be inspired by something, and then the motivation just swings back in the room like it was like they're the ones who did it anyway.
I love it.
So inspiration and conviction.
So, for like, correct me if I'm wrong, but so this is where I got really excited because you recently published an article on the decom model's dirty secret.
Yes.
I'd love to, like, motivation isn't the answer. So dive into that, because decom, like, is direction, competence, opportunity, and motivation. But why is the motivation element of it flawed? Potentially.
Can you, yeah. So can you, I don't want to contradict even
Yeah.
myself. Can you give me a little bit more of what I said there?
Yeah, no. So it's people aren't motivated. So motivation is very personal, right? So fame, fortune, family,
Yes.
those types of things. So you can't motivate someone. Everyone is motivated for their own reasons, right? So it's
Right.
like understanding, like, you as a leader cannot motivate people. You can create an environment for them to motivate themselves, right?
It's so
So
true.
yeah.
Yes. So thank you for the
Yeah,
reminder.
yeah.
Well, where I sometimes stump myself is back in March of 21, I set a goal to write 600 words every morning
Wow.
just because that's not who I am. And my greatest fear was then to hit publish. It's my second greatest fear. And I was like, I've got to get better at this,
Yeah.
right? I've got to be able to get more consolidated thoughts. Now, here's the downside is I just have a lot of just free flow thought that
Yeah.
come out. So I get caught every now and then. So Dean, you said this, and I'm like, you got to remind
Well,
me.
I'm sure that's
Right?
really hard, like finishing out your PhD too, because you're building out your thesis.
Oh my
And so it's
gosh.
like what used to be real isn't necessarily what's true anymore. So again,
It's
coming back to the
so
S
true.
curve of what's
Yes.
changed and what's now real. And so all the people that we are citing research of, may or may not, it is confirmation bias at its finest, right?
Oh my gosh. I never knew how true that was for me when you have a professor saying, Dean, I see bias all over, right, your last paper. And I'm like, and that was me trying to get rid of it. I advise this. I'm so, I have my own business. Do not hire unmotivated individuals.
Mm,
Just don't, I mean, high performing teams. I mean, we use that phrase all the time, don't we? High performing teams.
yeah.
I don't know of anyone who's looking for the average team or a mediocre team, right? We all want high performance. And so I remind these leaders, if you're having to motivate individuals on the team, you have the wrong individuals.
Mm, yep. Love that.
Just period. You need motivated individuals of which you now spend your energy inspiring them.
Mm-hmm.
When you inspire an unmotivated person, you know what happens? Nothing.
Nothing.
So let's go back to the Olympics. The product of the Olympics is amazing. The music, the fanfare, the backstories. And I'll be sitting on my couch, full on Cheeto dust, and inspired to a level I haven't been inspired. Like, I'm going to go do curling. I think every guy I know has in their back of their mind, I could do that. And I'm inspired, but I was never motivated to do that. And so therefore I never do that. So when the women won the gold in soccer, young women that were already motivated as 9, 10, 11-year olds to play soccer, you could not get them in the house. I mean, they were outside practicing. Young women that were into basketball, that were inspired by what they saw on the soccer field, but they've never been motivated to do soccer. It didn't change their routines at all. I mean, that for me, that's just evidence. Inspiration where you don't have motivation is squat. To have someone who's motivated in the direction that you're wanting to go, and now you inspire them, that return on effort, priceless.
Yeah. It's the defining what the why is. right? What is the purpose? Why am I doing this? So when it gets hard, it's not just about the glory, it's about falling in love with the pursuit.
Yeah, and yes, and again, so easy to say. I have some whys, um,
What is
and
your
I
why?
could
Tell
easily
me.
go.
Tell me about your why, because you are you are profoundly successful, and you're creating, like, you're taking executives who've already built empires and making them even more successful. So I would love for you to share. I know we're probably coming up on time here in a little bit, but I'd love for you to share what it is like when you meet with somebody who's already achieved this level of success. What is it that you're doing with them to take them to the next level?
Yeah, so a couple things. So my coach, her name is Cynthia. I'm not going to give her last name because I don't want you guys to find her. Yeah, she's already has a very full plate. She'll just raise her prices. But Cynthia helped me find, well, just go back to clarify and to confirm and to connect my why. And it came down to these three words that start with the letter A. So the first word is adventure. I love adventure. So whether it's climb the highest mountain, who has the best salsa in town, I can't help myself. I've got to go. I want to experience it. The second word is awe, AWE. It's just those things that humble me. So be it space, be it a good conversation, a good whiskey, and the things that just make my jaw drop. My favorite definition of awe is surprise with a hint of fear.
Ooh.
And again, I see your social media stuff. I mean, you are on the edge of surprise and fear. And that's the type of awe I like in my life. And then third is advocacy. There's things that need a voice. So you pick something and make a lot of noise about it. So I tend to attract clients that are looking for what else can I bring into this awe, adventure, and advocacy. So founders and entrepreneurs and startups, but also just people that are leading 40, 50,000 employees. To be at the top, you have to be some level of crazy. And so I find that this awe and adventure gets them. To take them to the next level, I think it's less about taking them to the next level and less of bringing the rest of their life to the same level.
Mm.
And most of them have just full on abandoned their physical selves, their emotional selves, and they're struggling with that connection. I mean, we have this loneliness epidemic now. I think high level leaders have been there for decades. Yeah. So I think that's what I'm helping them do is bring all areas of their life to that same level of excellence,
Through awe, adventure, and
adventure,
advocacy.
and advocacy.
I love it. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
I'm gonna put a pin in that now, and in our next conversation, I can't wait to unpack surprise and crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Dean, it was absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Is there anything that you want to let the audience know, where they can find you, where they connect with you, anything that you're working on publishing right now?
Yeah. So LinkedIn is the best way to find me. If you just put in Dean Miles, an executive coach or whatever, I hopefully show up on that first page. That's first. I was a contributor to a book called Becoming Coachable. So you can find that anywhere you find books. This is whether you have a coach, don't want to coach, don't think you ever want to coach. There's so much to learn there about this should be part of your pursuit of excellence is are you coachable? Do you have a learner's mindset? And so I'd throw that out to your audience.
Well, I'm absolutely going to unpack coachability with you in the next conversation. So thank you so much for
Love
being
it.
here. Looking forward to the next time. Thank you for joining us on The Pursuit of Excellence. I'm your host, Tinja, and if today's conversation sparks something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, reflect on it, and let it move you toward your own version of excellence. Remember, excellence isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up, growing, and choosing to push forward, even when it's hard. Until next time, keep pursuing what sets your soul on fire. Keep rising and keep redefining excellence on your terms.